And these days I'm very interested in helping countries like Kazakhstan that wants to shift their education system from content-based to competency-based, helping create resources that teachers and students and parents can use to achieve that shift.
Can you name top 5 skills do we need for Kazakhstani students or in Kazakhstani context, education context?
So I don't like the term soft skills very much because it seems to suggest that they're easy, and they're not. These are probably the most difficult skills to do well.
Can you please recommend a good book for parents?
Yes, I've just recently read Jonathan Haidt's book called The Anxious Generation. And this is about the impact of social media on children's lives. And you know, there are lots of negative impacts. The word artificial intelligence is a really unfortunate term because these machines are not intelligent at all. All they are is predictive text engines. They're just like on your phone when it predicts what the next word is. That's all ChatGPT is doing.
Hello and welcome everyone. Thank you for tuning into today's episode of the importance of 21st century skills in education. I'm your host, Mr. Nurbolat. So I'm pleased to welcome here Mr. Lens King, who is an author of 21st Century Skills book, as well as he's the author of a prestigious program called Art of Learning, which is, I think, implemented in different countries and translated into different languages. So I'm very pleased to welcome you here in our podcast studio at Tamil Space School.
Pleased to be here.
Yeah, so I hope that today you will have insightful discussions and share some important ideas with our school community. So Mr. Lenz, could you please tell me about your work experience? Because I know that you have been working in education for a long time. Yeah, and you have written different books, different programs. You have been involved in developing the workbooks for IB, International Baccalaureate IB program for IB MYP and IB DP levels. So could you please share with us, with our audience, with our school community about your work experience in general?
Sure. Well, I first got into teaching in 1985. And I taught for 10 years in a tertiary institution, what we call a polytechnic. I was teaching food technology and food science and microbiology and process engineering to adult students. And the thing that I noticed that the students who got the highest grades weren't necessarily the smartest students. They were the students who had the best skills, who could process information well, who could remember well, who could go over things well, who could study well, all the skills. And so I started teaching those skills within my subject, and the students all performed so much better. So in 1995, I left that institution and set up my own business called The Art of Learning, and started teaching those skills directly to students in schools in New Zealand. I come from New Zealand. And I've been doing that for the last 30 years, teaching students how to learn more effectively and more efficiently. And that it broadened out to teaching parents the same skills that they could then transfer to their children, and also to teaching teachers how to implement the same skills in their classroom. And then about 2012, I was asked to do some work for the IB, International Baccalaureate Organization, and I designed the ATL, which stands for Approaches to Learning, curriculum for the IB MYP program. And then I was involved in designing the curriculum of ATL skills for the DP program. And I generated some books around those skills. And since then I've written a total of 7 books, all about 21st century skills, ATL skills, books for students, books for parents, and books for teachers. And these days I'm very interested in helping countries like Kazakhstan that wants to shift their education system from content-based to competency-based, helping create resources that teachers and students and parents can use to achieve that shift.
But I would like to go back to your teaching experience, because from my understanding that you have come up with this idea of developing 21st century skills So when you became a teacher, yeah, am I right?
Yes, well, when I noticed that the students with the best skills performed best in my classes, I started teaching those skills explicitly and specifically within the classes. So I taught them how to manage their time well. I taught them how to focus and concentrate. I taught them how to summarize information, how to go over the information and remember it, and how to perform well in exam conditions. And because I taught them those skills, they performed better in my classes. So that was the impetus to taking those skills out and teaching them specifically.
So when did you decide to start thinking about 21st century skills?
Well, probably I taught my curriculum for 1 year in food technology, and then I made the realization probably in my 2nd year I started to teach some skills. In my 3rd year I teach more skills, and it just grew from there.
So it's meant that you have faced some challenges in education, in teaching and learning process, right? So
yeah, I was more driven by the thought that I could help every student to succeed, that it wasn't just the smart students or the organized students, that everyone could learn how to succeed in my classes. And I got to the point where everyone was passing all the courses that I was teaching.
That's interesting. So could you please tell us what skills do we need for the future? Like, I know that we are living in a digital era, and we have different technologies, including AI generated tools. So can you name top 5 skills do we need for Kazakhstani students, or in Kazakhstani context, education context?
Sure. If we're trying to teach using more innovative methods, then we're asking students to find the truth for themselves, not to be told what is true. And so it's all the skills of research and inquiry, how to do effective research online and in books, how to compare and contrast sources, how to drill down on sources and find original data, how to compare data and find out what is actually true. In a world of AI, where you cannot rely on anything being true, even video can be faked, how do you find the real truth? And it's a wonderful exercise for students to go through to find the real truth. So I think that's kind of the primary skill, is how to determine what is true from what is false. And then there's all the processing skills of information processing and getting through large amounts of information in short times, how to make good summaries of information, how to remember that information. But then in the background of that, there's also the perseverance and the determination skills, and the ability to deal well with assessment and deal well with failure. Those are the cluster of skills that I think are vital for all students in a modern age.
Thank you for your comments, Mr. Lenz. So let's talk about how you have developed this book for Kazakhstani students. I remember that, myself, so I wrote an email to you directly in 2022. So I think in September, October, what I remember. So, and after my few observations of the classroom observations, after my first academic term in Kazakhstan, after returning from Vietnam to Kazakhstan, I decided to write an email to you. So by saying that, we would like to get this program in Kazakh and Russian languages. So was it difficult for you, to adapt all the skills, or even some topics, some some parts of the book for Kazakhstani context? Because you know that education programs, different curriculum content is also different from international curriculum. So what challenges have you faced when you have developed this program for Kazakhstani?
I think I had the easy job actually, because I did the same process for the Vietnam curriculum, because in 2018 Vietnam incorporated 21st century skills in their curriculum. So I modeled out all the skills exercises, hundreds and hundreds of skills exercises into 14 categories of skills. And then you contacted me with the Kazakhstan curriculum. And the Kazakhstan curriculum is also very innovative, and it has these 7 areas of 21st century skills. So for me, it was a fairly simple exercise to take my 14 categories of skills and reorganize them around the Kazakhstan curriculum. You had the hard job of then taking my exercises in English and not just translating them, but also being very careful about the context and the meaning of the skills, and making sure that the skills fitted with the Kazakhstan students and the Kazakhstan context. So I think my job was relatively simple, was more of an organizational job. Yours was more of an interpretation job, which I think you've done a fabulous job.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Lenz. Yeah. So after getting first copy of textbook, a workbook in English for primary and secondary, I have tried to teach as a pilot project in grade 5 and 6. So I think everything went well last year, because from my perspective, so my idea was to try some exercises, some tasks in classroom environment, in practice. So we have developed the curriculum, like for elective course, we have developed the curriculum, the program of 21st century skills. So of course I have taught in English everything, all the exercises, all the activities. Even I designed like lesson plans for individual skill. So one lesson plan for one individual skill, plus I designed a PowerPoint presentation how to explain, explicitly in the Kazakhstani context for Kazakhstani students. I think we have done a lot in terms of developing the 21st century skills workbooks. Plus we have translated. We have spent, I think, 8 or 9 months to translate those areas. I mean, sometimes it's so difficult to translate the terminology. You know that sometimes in Vietnam the same, if you have one like action, in order to translate even one action, you have different like meanings in Vietnamese language. And I have faced here as well in Kazakhstan the same. For example, if you want to describe face in Kazakh language, we have 45 synonyms for face.
Wow.
Yeah, that's why I think we have worked very hard just to give, I mean, exact meaning of the word or sentence, or even like a terminology. So yeah, we have done, I think, a lot. So I think we have spent 2 years, 2 academic years, from the designing workbook and the translating, editing. We spent a lot of time, of course. But yeah, so far so good. So we have done our presentation this week. Book launch. So let's talk about in-depth. So now parents they are more focused on developing soft skills. Because when they come to school, they always ask principal or even our admissions officers, how do you develop soft skills in your classroom? So can you talk about some maybe parts from your book?
Sure.
What skills can we teach?
Yes, I don't like the term soft skills very much, because it seems to suggest that they're easy, and they're not. These are probably the most difficult skills to do well. Take resilience, for example. How do you teach a child to be resilient, that is strong on the inside, be able to cope with difficulties, cope with any of the challenges that they're facing? Now, to me, I've taken an approach which is a kind of a solution-focused approach, which means that all children are resilient at times, at some times. Like take the 14-year-old boy who plays football. And on the football field, and he also studies maths, and he gets to a maths problem that he finds difficult and he gives up. But when he's on the football field and he gets tackled and he gets knocked over, he actually gets straight back up again and gets back into it, and then he gets knocked over and gets back up and knocked over and gets back up. What I do is I ask them, it seems to me that on the football field, you are amazingly resilient. Every time you get knocked back, you get straight back up again and you get into the game. How do you do that? Is there something that you say to yourself which helps you get yourself back up again? Is there something that you feel? Is there something that you say to yourself? Is there something that, what do you do? How do you get yourself back in the game? And get them to actually think that through in depth, going through all the mental processes that he uses in football. And then I say, well, now you've mapped out how to do it in football. Do you think you might be able to use a similar strategy in your mathematics? And for students, that's sometimes a revelation, because they've never thought of transferring a strategy. But when you're focused on strategy, they're all transferable. So when he's facing that maths problem and he reaches the point where he thinks he can't do it anymore, he's got to remember, no, in football, I say to myself, I can do this. I can get back in. I can have another go at this. He applies that in his maths work and he has another go at it. He tries again. He approaches it a different way. He perseveres, he persists, and he gets through the maths problem. So that's my approach to all the soft skills, is find, and this is for parents too, notice when your children are displaying the particular emotionally based skills, that's what I tend to call them, in different areas, and ask them to think about how do they do that, and then ask them to think about maybe transferring those skills into more academic areas where they need the perseverance, the determination, the self-motivation, the resilience, all those kind of things. And all the exercises in my book take that kind of approach to helping children work out how to do it and when it counts academically.
Yeah, thank you. I think parents think differently. They think that, oh, we have a school, we send our kids to school and they have to learn there. Yeah, but I think the parents' involvement is also very important in, child's life, every child's life. Without how can I say, both ways, two-way communication between the school and the home, it's not possible to integrate even 21st century skills. Yes, at school level we teach skills, we provide resources, but at home parents also should support us, I think. Yeah.
Oh, absolutely. And parents often think there's a magic wand, that kids will go to school, teacher will wave a magic wand, and suddenly the child will be determined and resilient and persistent. No, it requires learning how.
And most of the parents think that if they send their kids to private schools, it's like a private school is outsourcing company. Yeah, I can outsource something like a service, like education. I don't know, sometimes issues regarding a pastoral care. They think that we can outsource this service, and we can ask school or principal or teachers to teach them those skills, even soft skills. Yeah, you're right.
I mean, for the way we've written the books, they're written so that children can do them by themselves, but they're also written so that parents could sit down with a child and work through one little exercise every night. And maybe parents can also learn how to be more persistent and how to be more determined and how to be more motivated by doing the same exercises as their children. And then it's a wonderful experience. At night they work together, one parent, one child, they do a 10-minute exercise and they both learn something new. And then they can both move on to the next exercise. I think that will help.
Mr. Lenz, so what's your maybe main recommendation or several recommendations for the person who is 20-year-old
today?
Yeah.
Well, the 20-year-old today is facing so many challenges. We've got craziness across the world politically. We've got everything is very expensive. Economies are faltering. I would suggest that the key skill for any 20-year-old has got to be something to do with artificial intelligence. So any student who asks me what should I study at university, I say find your passion, find the subject that you really are interested in, biology or language or whatever, but then study how can I use artificial intelligence in that subject. Because AI and the next generation of AI will be involved in every job in the future. So the way in which you can utilize AI is going to be the key skill. I mean, it's already revolutionized coding. When coders started using AI to write code, their efficiency went up by 100%. In my own work for translation, I can do all the basic translation using AI and then get people like yourselves to check it and
check
improve
the accuracy.
it. So I would think for a 20-year-old, it's all to do with AI, but I'm not sufficiently knowledgeable to know how
to code.
But find your passion, find the thing that you love to study and be involved in, and then find how AI can help you learn that and help develop that subject area in the future.
I think you're right that we have to teach and develop AI skills as well, because in our book we have developing ICT skills. Yeah. So, can you please recommend a good book for parents?
Yes, I've just recently read Jonathan Haidt's book called The Anxious Generation, and this is about the impact of social media on children's lives. And you know, there are lots of negative impacts. I mean, social media is a wonderful mechanism for children to connect together, but it is leading them down rabbit holes of the worst possible online material being fed to them constantly so that they think it's normal. So his recommendations are quite significant. He recommends, number one, that we ban cell phones in school. And in New Zealand and in Australia and here at Tamos, you have done that, and it's certainly in New Zealand it's proving to be a good experiment because children are talking to each other more, they're playing with each other more, they're connecting more. And so keeping cell phones outside classrooms, outside schools, I think. Secondly, no social media until a child reaches the age of 16. None
I guess
whatsoever.
That's impossible here. I mean, in digital, age.
Well, it's just to do with parents and control, because the third one is to only allow children to have what he calls a flip phone. That is a phone that doesn't connect to the internet until they're 16.
Yeah, they can just call it or text messages.
Yes, they can call and they can text. So those two go together. So if the only phone they've got is a phone that doesn't allow them to connect with social media, then you can keep them away from social media. The only social media they'd be able to connect to would be on their laptop, and parents can control that with controls on the internet at home. So I think it is parents' responsibility to take some controls. Yeah. And one thing Jonathan Haidt mentions is that he thinks that over the last 10 years we have overprotected our children in the physical world, not allowed them to take physical risks, and underprotected them in the digital world. And I think that's very, very important.
Yep, true. So my final question: what new chapter do you want to add into your next 21st century skills workbook?
Well, I think it's all the things we've been talking about. I think it's AI skills. It's how to make the most out of the available AI and how to look forward to the future. I mean, I've also always wanted to write a chapter on entrepreneurial skills.
Good.
How young children can learn to be entrepreneurial. And that's a whole set of skills: how to analyze a market and find gaps in the market, how to do demographic analysis, how to find a need, how to creatively generate a product, how to test a product in a marketplace, how to plan out taking a product to production, how to test it in the real marketplace, and how to do follow-up sales and promotion work. I think entrepreneurial skills is a huge area that I'd love children to do, because I think what we do sometimes wrong in schools is we say to children, your highest ambition will be to work for someone.
Yeah.
Whereas I think your highest ambition could be to work for yourself.
True.
And I think that creates a whole nother field of skills which would be wonderful to work in.
Even though we have specific elective courses in some private schools, entrepreneurship or even artificial intelligence courses, but I think it's very important to teach those skills in the curriculum area as well. Yeah. So a day ago, I know that you gave a speech in front of parents of Tama Space School. It was a wonderful event. I think our parents have learned a lot from you. how to educate their child at home. So you told that the most important skill is failing well. Can you please, share with our school community
Sure.
again about the failing well?
Sure.
Because I think parents usually force their kids to learn, to work very hard. And if they get students get very low results, they try to force them to learn and work very hard. So what do you mean by failing well? Because in Russian and Kazakh, it sounds very funny,
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
In English, even the same, like a failing well, the meaning. So
I'm aware
what do you mean by failing well?
Sure. I'm aware that particular phrase doesn't translate very well. Well, take a simple situation where a child sits a test at school and their goal is to do well in the test and they don't do well in the test. To me, that's an opportunity to learn and an opportunity to make some changes. So I would suggest when the child gets the paper back and they haven't done very well, the most important thing is to look at all the questions they got wrong and then go and do their research and find the right answer and actually physically rewrite the answers to all the questions they got wrong. And then to take those answers back to the teacher the next day and say to the teacher, have I got them right now? Not in order to get an extra grade or score or mark, not in order to change their grade that they got for the test, just in order to make sure that they've learnt from getting the answer wrong. They've now learnt what the right answer is, so that any time in the future when they see a similar question, they will know what the right answer is. That's failing well. Failing badly is the child in the same situation who gets the test paper back and has got a whole lot of questions they got wrong, and they look at it and they go, and they throw it away. They discard it. They put it behind it. They never look up the right answers to those questions. So the next time they see that same question or same type of question again, they'll get it wrong again because they haven't learnt from failure. So failure is a very powerful mechanism to help you to improve your performance, as long as you learn from the mistake, you learn from the failure. You make changes, you go back and you do it again, and you keep making changes and doing it again until you've got it right. That to me is the process of what I call failing well.
Great, thank you. So Mr. Lenz, I know that we have 14 different chapters and different exercises for 14 different sub-skills. How do you think you named 5 top skills here, but in Kazakhstani context, what skills should we focus on more? So what skills are more important nowadays?
Sure. I don't know that I'm the best person to answer that question really, because as I said to the teachers today, I said you need to get familiar with all the skills in these books. And then you need to think about your own students and what are the skills that your students need. Do they need some more communication skills? Do they need better collaboration skills? Do they need better research skills? What are the skills that are lacking? So it's got to be an analysis of the students themselves. And it's also got to correspond with the challenges that are facing students. Because in the primary sector, they're facing different challenges to lower secondary and upper secondary. The challenges change all the time. So the real next stage, it seems to me, is getting familiar enough with all the skill categories and all the skill exercises in the books, and then doing some mapping and planning. So at grade 5, what is the skill progression that would most benefit a grade 5 student? And what would benefit grade 6 and grade 7 and grade 8? And map them all out. And so that then you've got a logical progression that matches the development of knowledge and understanding. And so I can't really say what is lacking because I'm not familiar with Kazakhstan students. It's up to teachers who know their students really well to identify, well, actually, if we did some more research skills, I've got a big research assignment coming up that I want them to do. I think I'll spend a month developing some of these research skills in any time I can find available, so that when I give them the research assignment, they will be ready to go. So it's up to teachers to map out these skills.
Yeah, but nowadays we are living in, as I said before, in digital age, in digital era. So you know that we have, artificial intelligence, which is now integrated into our life. So how can we cope with challenges, and how should we educate or train our students with the 21st century skills? Because you know that we have research skills, we have thinking skills, we have creative application of knowledge skills, but with ChatGPT I can just type one question, I will get like multiple answers. So what should we do as a student? Because
I think
we have ChatGPT, and ChatGPT, it does all the research.
but it doesn't necessarily do it very well and very accurately. I think the word artificial intelligence is a really unfortunate term, because these machines are not intelligent at all. All they are is predictive text engines. They're just like on your phone when it predicts what the next word is. That's all ChatGPT is doing. It's just got an enormous database to draw from to decide what the next word is. So it's not actually thinking at all. And so it often comes up with things that are wrong, or has gone off in a different direction, or has got some kind of bias in its answer. So the key skills for students is how to use ChatGPT or any other AI as a good search engine to find the right material, but then to go to the raw material, to go to the material and analyze that and create good arguments and to find out what is actually true.
Yeah.
And the real skill for teachers is to ask a good series of questions that enable a student to follow a thread to find the truth.
I have another question. So some researchers say that teachers will be replaced by artificial intelligence. So do you agree with this statement? And what's the role of teacher in digital era?
Yes, I think that subject teachers will be replaced by artificial intelligence online, because an artificial intelligence can have an enormous knowledge base, but it can also get to know individual students very, very well and know exactly the way in which that individual student's mind works. And so can organize the information and give it to the student in a way that suits that student's learning. And so I think the role of subject teachers will decline over the next 10 years, and maybe a lot quicker, to the point where the machine online is teaching the child the knowledge, the subject matter. But then the teacher's role becomes all the other things that a child needs, all these 21st century skills: how to organize information, how to think critically and creatively, how to maintain their resilience and maintain their perseverance, how to set goals so that they can achieve them. All the things that other than subject knowledge, and especially the emotional skills, how to help a child learn to manage their own emotions well, which in an age of AI becomes more and more important, because some children already are becoming emotionally attached to machine intelligence. And that's very unfortunate. And I think teachers' role will be to look after the mental health and well-being of students.
You mean as a facilitator at the...
Yes.
Yeah, in the future you are saying that we will learn topics, subject areas based on individual plan.
Yes.
Which will be generated by AI, I don't know, like a tool. Or AI program, yeah.
Well, maybe that will be part of a teacher's role.
And teacher's role will be to facilitate this process.
Yes, but also to be involved with the student and the AI in designing the individual learning plan. Because it can't just be an AI determining what a child needs to learn. It's got to have a human component as well. And the teacher needs to be involved in that. And then the teacher's role becomes keeping the child mentally and physically healthy, well balanced, emotionally stable, while the child negotiates this pathway of increasing knowledge. And so I think a teacher's role becomes much more as a 21st century skills teacher and less as a subject teacher. Although still, children will need a teacher to answer questions, and to help provide direction, and to help provide some motivation, and help provide the things that go around good subject learning.
Yeah, Mr. Lenz, let's sum up our conversation today. Yeah, I think we have talked about different aspects of developing 21st century skills. So can you please give us a recommendation, for teacher, for student, for teacher, and for parents in order to develop 21st century skills?
Well, I guess it first starts with awareness. And for students, they've got to be aware. Students and parents and teachers are motivated towards the student getting good grades, good academic scores, good academic results. Well, the realization that in order to produce good academic results, the best way to do that is to get very, very good at the 21st century skills. Because 21st century skills are one of the two things that children actually have control of in the learning process. Children at school don't control who they're taught by or how they're taught or where they're taught or when they're taught or who sets the tests or who marks the tests. But they do control the amount of effort they put in, the hours they put in, the work they put in, and they control the efficiency and the effectiveness of their learning by virtue of practicing 21st century skills. So realizing that getting better at these skills will actually improve academic results. When children realize that and parents realize that, then they will put in effort to learn these skills so that the academic results improve. But it's not just academic results, because there's emotional skills in there as well, so they can learn to become more stable, emotionally stable, more resilient, and more focused. But also teachers need to realize that it is the skills that are the employable things. In the future of employment is all about thinking and learning skills. And so once the teachers realize that it's less about what the child knows and more about the skills the child has to process information. When they're working for any corporation, anywhere at all, they'll be processing information and learning the skills necessary to do that well. That's got to be more of a focus. So I always encourage teachers in the present day to have a dual focus in the classroom, both on what the child is learning and how the child is learning, and to explicitly focus on both those things at once, so that the child improves their efficiency and effectiveness of learning while learning the knowledge that is in the curriculum.
Mr. Lenz, thank you for your recommendations for our school community. So I have last question. So do you have any future projects? Not only in Kazakhstan, maybe outside, different countries.
The next project is the same 3 books, the junior school workbook, the senior school workbook, and the teacher's guide, are right now being translated into Korean in Korea. And so I'm hoping to have those books released later on this year, and to train some Korean teachers in how to teach these skills in the classroom. And then after Korea, maybe...
So when it happens?
Hopefully the books will be published by October 2025.
Wow, this year?
Yes, this year.
Great.
And then the project after that may be China. I'm thinking of that at the moment, but one step at a time.
Yeah, big population, big project, I guess.
Yes. But I'd like to say thank you for all the work you have done and Aman PV has done to get these books produced in 2 languages and produced so well, excellently. And all the work you put into this week's promotion has been fabulous. And I think we've got the message out. I think we've dropped a stone in the pond. We've started the ripples, and the ripples are moving out in Kazakhstan, and hopefully more children will get the benefit of learning these skills.
Yeah, Mr. Lenz, we're also pleased to welcome you here in Kazakhstan. I know that this is your 3rd time, because I remember that you participated in different workshops, and you also conducted, a workshop for the conference, international conference here in Astana. So we are also glad to meet you again at TAM Space School, not only in Kazakhstan, but also in our school. We hope that our books in Kazakh and Russian we can distribute, we can share our experience with national schools. Even today, over like 3 days, we have some teachers from national schools, and they would like also to learn 21st century skills as educators in order to teach in the classroom, in order to educate, in order to share and improve students 21st century skills. Thank you again
You're welcome.
for agreeing, for your support, and for your insightful information, because we understand that it's very important to develop 21st century skills in Kazakhstani schools. Thank you again.
Спасибо.
Yeah.
It has been my pleasure.